What's up, guys? I'm Mike from StockedUp. In this video, I'm going to be showing you a really cool options trading strategy that allows you to collect income off of stock shares you already own. And this is called covered calls. So this strategy is extremely lucrative and it's very popular amongst a lot of people who hold a lot of shares or institutions. So in this video, I'm going to be giving you a rundown on how this strategy works and a couple examples so you could hopefully understand it. So let's get right into it. So yesterday I made a video on cash secured puts, and this video is pretty much the exact opposite of this. So in yesterday's video, I showed you how you can get paid to buy stocks at low prices. In this video, we're going to show you how you can possibly sell stocks you already own at high prices. And like I said, this is called a covered call. Basically, the way it works is you have to own at least 100 shares of any specific stock. So 100 shares of Apple or 100 shares of DraftKings or whatever stock you want that has options, and you can short or write options. And basically, you're going to get a premium for doing this. And the only downside is you might have to sell your shares. So only do this with shares that you're fine with selling. So I'm going to go through a couple examples in like a minute or two, but I just want to give a quick little overview of like the pros and cons of this strategy. So the pros is theta is working for you. If you're confused saying, what's theta, how can time work for me? Basically, options decay in value every single day. All options have an expiration date. So if we go to Apple, for example, we see that we have options expiring on January 8th and January 15th and February 19th and March 17th of 2023. So like we have options expiring all the time, and these options decay in value every single day, and that's called theta. So if you buy an option, like let's say we go to February 19th for Apple, if you buy a 160 strike call option, today it's going for about $120. If Apple stays flat for, let's say, a week, this option might only be worth $90. These options decay in value every single day. So if you short options, that is working in your favor. So you can, just like stocks, you can either long options or you can short them. Writing covered calls is shorting options. So let me go back to the document right here. Time is on your side. When you shorten options, every day that goes by, you're making more and more money. And also, when you short options, you get paid immediately. So I'm gonna go more into the process of shorting options. But when you short them, you get paid cash immediately. And another pro is you can sell your shares at high prices. Like for example, let's say with Apple, let's say you look at the market right now and let's say you had Apple at $100 and you're debating whether now is a good time to sell or if you want to hold for a couple more months. A covered call would be perfect in this scenario. And like I said, I'm going to go through a couple examples in a couple minutes. Some cons of covered calls is you need at least 100 shares of the stock to do this. So, with Apple, if you bought 100 shares of Apple right now, it might cost you about $13,000. If you're dealing with a stock like Amazon, 100 shares of Amazon that's a lot of money for a stock. But you could also do this with lower price stocks like NIO, where it's only $48 per share. You could do it with any other stock. Really, you just need 100. You need to have 100 shares, and the stock has to have options. So then if we go back over here, another con is like, let's say, for example, like if you wrote a covered call option for the 140 strike, you have to sell at 140. So you can miss out on potential gains, but not even Warren Buffett can call the exact top or bottom. So that's not necessarily a huge con. You're still selling your shares at great prices. And then some of my tips for selling covered calls is you should only be doing this with stocks you are willing to sell. Like, for example, if you are holding, let's say, NIO, right? And you want to hold this for the next 5 years, it probably isn't the best idea to sell covered calls. Like if you know for sure you do not want to sell this at all, then covered calls probably are not the right strategy for you. And another thing is, like I just highlighted, there's options that expire in 5 days. There's options that expire in 3 years. So personally, the sweet spot, in my opinion, is to sell options between 30 and 50 days. Options that have 30 and 50 days left till expiration. Typically, those options have like the perfect sweet spot for that allows you to get pretty far out of the money, but also allows you to collect some pretty nice premiums. So now let's get right into the example. I think this is where a lot of people are going to learn about covered calls the most. So let's say Apple is currently at $132. And let's say you have 100 shares of Apple that you bought for $110 each. Now, you look at Apple's chart right now, you look at all the catalysts in the market, and you're just unsure. Like, do you want to hold Apple or do you want to sell it? Like, you're just unsure. So a covered call would be great for this scenario. You have Apple at $110 each. Right now it's at $132. But you know you would be happy selling Apple for about $140 per share, right? You look at Apple's chart, they hit highs of around $138.79. And you know you'd be happy selling for $140. Right now it's only at about $132, $133, right? So you look at the options chain and you go to the February 5th, 2021 140 strike call option, and you can sell it for $365, right? You're okay with selling Apple for $140 each, so you sell the 140 strike call option. If you are happy with selling Apple for $145 each, then you'd sell the 145 strike call option. Once you sell the strike price that you are comfortable selling your shares at, in this example, we're looking at 140. Basically, you just hold on to that option. So you're going to get paid $365 upfront in cash. No matter what happens, you're keeping this $365. However, if Apple is above $140 by your expiration day, then you're going to have to sell your 100 shares of Apple for $140 each. Okay. In order to do this trade, you need to have at least 100 shares of Apple as collateral in case you have to sell them if Apple's above $140 each. So no matter what, you're going to win because you're going to get $365. If Apple is below 140, then you keep your shares. If it's above 140, you have to sell them. Let's say Apple is at around 100. Let's say Apple's at like $140.10, right, by expiration. You're going to keep your 365, but also you're going to make a capital gains profit because you bought Apple at 110 and then you're going to sell you're going to sell it for a little over $140 each, and you have 100 shares. So you'll pick up a good amount of money there, a little over $3,000, which is good. So let's run through a couple different scenarios to hopefully better your understanding. So let's say Apple falls, right, and you sold the covered call. It was at 132 and you sold the covered call, and by expiration, Apple's at 125. The call you sold for $365 is now worth zero. It's worth zero because it's out of the money. So you're going to get to keep your $365 and you don't have to do anything else. You get to keep your shares and you walk away with a $365 profit. And what's cool is you can just repeat this. You can just go sell another call, and you can do whatever you want. You can just keep this cycle repeating, and you can just keep getting paid every single week or month or quarter or year or however you want to structure this. And then in scenario 2, let's say Apple explodes up. Apple's at $145 by expiration. You still get to keep your $365 no matter what, but you have to sell Apple at $140 each. So this is where one of the cons comes in to selling covered calls, because Apple's at 145 right now, but you have to sell for 140. But keep in mind, nobody can predict the exact top or bottom, not even Warren Buffett. So yes, it's a con to the strategy, but at the end of the day, you're still making over $3,000 because you bought Apple at 110 and then you sold for 140. You did that for 100 shares, and then you still get to profit the 365. So at the end of the day, you're still making about $3,300, a little more than that. So that is definitely a win. And the ideal scenario would be if Apple is just under your strike price by expiration day. This will be the ultimate win. One, you are going to keep the $365 you sold your call for, right? That option is going to be worth $0, so you keep all the profit on that. Then, since Apple is below your strike price, you also get to keep your shares of Apple, right? So you get to keep your shares, and Apple might be on pace to hit 150 or 160, and you still get to keep your premium, and you still have an unrealized gain of about $3,000 because you bought it for 110. Right now, it's just under 140, so you get to keep your shares. You're up about $3,000 unrealized. You profited $365 in a realized gain, and you could sell another covered call, or you can just hold your shares, or you can do whatever you want. But at the end of the day, you're in a great position. So covered calls are a great way to gain income off of shares you already own. A downside is it does require you to have 100 shares of a stock, which I realize can be limiting for some people, but you don't have to do this with Apple. You can do it with stocks like NIO that you might only need about $5,000 to start running covered calls on. And you could do a lot of cool things with covered calls, and they can really put you in a win-win scenario. If you do decide to do covered calls, I recommend doing a little more research to get a full understanding on how they work. They're a great strategy, and they allow you to pick up some extra income off of shares you already own. So if you guys learned anything, please consider subscribing and leaving a comment. But other than that, thanks for watching.